This is the Reds Fans Chatter Podcast Breakdown. I'm Scott Evans. He's Nick Lawson. What's going on, man?
You know, I'm good. I'm just messing with you. I'm good, yes.
Anyway, breakdown episodes, we are going to take a look at one particular topic and break it down in depth. And usually it's going to be something in the past, like eventually we're going to finally get to the 2010 Reds season we've been talking about for weeks now. But I wanted to call an audible because this one is, I think, topic A on the internet. It's driving me crazy, and I really hate, nitpicking lineups, but it's called for after what we've seen the last week since they've come back from COVID. We are going to break down the Reds lineup and how each of the star players, and no offense to the ones that aren't stars yet, but you don't earn a lineup until you played a few years. And Shogo might be the one exception to that, but just based off of what he did in Japan, as much weight as you can take that. It's kind of like a AA, AAA level from what I've read. So, I mean, he's kind of an unknown, but the guys like Votto, Castellanos, Suarez, even Winker, they all have track records you can look at and see if you're going to place them in this part of the order, do they do well? And unfortunately, most of the time for where David Bell, I keep wanting to call him Brian Price. David Bell is putting the players in the lineup. It's not where they can, based on their history, can do their best work for whatever reason. I've never played professional baseball, so I don't know the reason. I do have a kind of a philosophy on some of the players that we can get into on this show, but yeah, this is going to be kind of a rant episode, and who knows, maybe we'll go on a 15-game winning streak with this lineup, and we'll look like idiots in 2 weeks, but it's not looking so far. So, of course, since I came back from COVID, there I go again, David Bell. Almost called him Brian Bell. Has been hitting.
Call him David Price again if you want.
I don't want to do that to the pitcher, though.
I know, you don't want to insult the guy.
Right. But he's been having Joey Votto lead off now. In theory, that sounds like a good idea. Votto's probably going to go down as one of the all-time leaders in baseball in on-base percentage. He's never been a speed demon, even in his younger days. But, I mean, that's nobody is in baseball anymore, except for the rare exceptions. So, I mean, no one's going to steal 80 bases. Billy Hamilton had potential to be that guy, but couldn't get on base. And... yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day. I get baseball cards, and I'm going through these, and I'm looking at Vince Coleman and Ricky Henderson and Tim Raines and these guys that stole 70, 80 bases a season and more. And you can't find a guy like that no more. There's nobody that's going to do it.
No, and
nobody runs it anymore.
And managers don't want to run.
No, they don't. They don't take the risk of getting thrown out.
No. So, anyway, but Votto... he's played 23 games leading off. I think the majority of those are most likely most of those are with David Bell. One game in 2008. Votto led off, went 1 for 4. Last year, leading off, 9 for 56 for a 161 batting average. And then this year, since he's been leading off in the 7 games going into tonight, 3 for 25 for a 120 batting average, and any time he's been hitting in that leadoff spot, you can't really count 2008. That was one game. Last year was 15 games. It didn't work. He got on base at a 288 clip, 214 clip so far this year. That is not Joey Votto, and I think I know part of the reason why. And if you go back a couple of weeks ago to the game where he got the walk-off double.
Yeah.
What was he doing in the batter's box? He was studying the pitcher. He was looking through charts in that case. And if you're leading off the game, you cannot you can't just sit in the batter's box. And I've seen Votto do this at games I've been to. he'll stand there, look, and will concentrate, take practice swings, see the pitcher's sequencing, see the pitcher's delivery, try to get a good look. And batting first, you just don't get a good view of that. And even batting second, he struggled a little bit more, but batting third is where he's done his best in his career. But batting first, it's not a good idea. 23 games, 24 going in tonight. His batting average 153 in the leadoff spot. I don't know what kind of analytics David Bell is using. I did that one on purpose. But batting first is not for Votto. Batting second, he's done that in 271 games. 10 games with Dusty Baker. Did it pretty much at least once per year. At least 9 times per year with Brian Price. And then last year, primarily hitting second. And didn't have great numbers. 276, 369, 432. I mean, those are good numbers, but they're not Joey Votto numbers. This year, though, when he was hitting second in the 9 games he hit second, I don't know why you would change this. I know he started to struggle a little bit, but here's his numbers for this year. 273, 400, 545 for a 945 OPS.
Yeah, I look at the past leadoff hitters we've had, like Corey Patterson. I hate to bring him up, but Corey Patterson, there's Tony Womack as well. And then Billy Hamilton. Billy Hamilton was leading off because he had speed. He was supposed to get on base, and he had the speed. Joey Votto don't have the speed. Joey Votto has the eye at the plate, and the eye at the plate cannot be leading off the way he is right now.
I mean, looking at his stats, when he said second or third is where his best stats are. Of course, he did that for the majority of his career. Batting second, if he finishes his career hitting 289, 404, that's going to be a Hall of Fame career, taken in totality. If he hits 153, that could hurt him. Maybe David Bell doesn't want to see Joey Votto in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he's trying to sabotage his career. I completely joke about that. But I mean, it's mind-boggling why Joey Votto is hitting first. I mean, looking further down in the lineup, batting fourth, he's only done that in 29 games, 284, 411 on base percentage. Most of that was done early in his career. Did 1 game last year and actually was over 4. So probably not. He's definitely not a cleanup hitter, at least in the traditional sense. He did bat 67 times, hitting 7th. I'm guessing that was in 2007 and 2008 when he first broke into the league. Did well there, but of course that's younger numbers. Don't bat him 9th either. He's batted 9th in 29 games, surprisingly enough. I got to see what years those were. He did those actually almost every single year of his career. He has hit 9th at least once. I'm guessing those are all pinch hitting spots. So as a pinch hitter in the 9th spot, he's 226 with a 400 on base percentage in 29 games and 40 plate appearances.
I wonder where he batted in the minors. In what position?
Those stats I don't think they keep. It's very difficult to.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting to see numbers that he had in the minors where he was batting either leadoff or batting 9th or whatever.
But regardless, he should be either hitting second or third, probably second, just because of another guy. We can just go ahead and talk about him now. I think he's actually hitting third lately, he's been hitting fourth, and that's Suarez. But he's starting to turn it on. But Suarez has had his best career hitting third, pulling up his splits now. But I mean, last year he was just amazing at hitting third in the lineup. Of course, he didn't have the injury in the offseason, so that could explain some of his slow start, because while other guys during the lockdown, shutdown were going out into the desert, going out to local parks, I think he was probably just resting his arm, spending time with his family. So that could explain some of his slow start. But, Suarez, he's pretty balanced wherever you hit him in the lineup. Don't have him lead off. He's only done it in 4 games, but he's hitting 250. Batting second.
I would take 250 right now.
Well, that's true. But I mean, as far as where he's excelled is batting third. He has a 270 batting average, 916 OPS. Batting fourth, not too bad, but his average drops down to 248. OPS down to 813. So I think you need him as your third hitter. Maybe that moves Votto into the second, batting into the second spot. But so this one, I guess I kind of have to give David Bell a little bit of credit, but he's been batting him in the fourth spot, at least in a couple of games. I don't know if he's moved him up or not. I know Winker he has in the third spot. Winker, though, I was looking at his numbers earlier today, and he really should be the leadoff hitter. If not him, Shogo. It should be between the two of them. Winker splits at leadoff are what you'd expect out of a leadoff hitter.
Yeah, I mean, they're the two lefties right there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind having a lefty leadoff hitter. Always throws off the left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, here's Winker's stats at leadoff. He's done it in 88 games, 377 plate appearances, so it's not a small sample size. And 276, 370 with a 451 slugging for an 821 OPS. That should be where he hits. There's nobody else better than that on this team in the leadoff spot throughout their history.
Yeah. Well, didn't Vada Pinson lead off, and Pete Rose was a leadoff hitter as well. And,
right. I mean,
Winker, I don't think we're going to find another Pete Rose type hitter in baseball anymore.
Winker, he's only been out of David Bell saying, "No, we got to keep giving these guys chances, let them play through it." Winker's led off 2 games this year. Did not do well, but that was before he turned it on. Now, granted, they moved him down the lineup, and that may have helped. But last year, in 42 games, Winker hit 303, 387, 559. Year before that, he led off in 35 games, hit 265, 373, and 346. So I don't think, based off the history of their performance, there's a better leadoff hitter right now on this team than Jesse Winker.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it. Obviously, he's done it before, and he knows what he's doing up there. I would say Jesse Winker is a type of player. He takes his pitches. He's kind of like a Votto type hitter. Because he had more walks and strikeouts in this last couple of years. I know, like this year, he's been just trying to make contact, and then he was really sloppy at first, and he kind of picked up on it, and he's gotten into a groove, and he's been really hitting the ball very well. I think you're right. I think he should be leading off right now.
Right, and the guy that they have hitting second, who was on a tear, and ever since they moved him to the 2-hole, he's cooled off greatly, and that is Nick Castellanos, hitting second this year. He is 206, 299, 500. Now, for his career, it's not too bad numbers for hitting second, 271, 326, 504. But Votto is where I put him. Batting fourth, though, in his career, he's 318, 368, 526 for an 895 OPS. This year, batting fourth. He's only done it in 3 games. He's hitting 300, 462, 400 slugging with 2 RBI in the limited at-bats and plate appearances. So, again, the lineup construction, I know you'd have Castellanos as a left-hander, correct?
Yeah, I mean...
I'm sorry, he bats right. So, I mean, you'd even have the left-right thing. You'd have... you'd have Suarez batting third, so he's right-handed. Forgive us, I haven't been writing any of this down, so I'm going off memory. But so I mean, that would still kind of work because for whatever reason, having 2 right-handed batters has never looked on as bad. The 2 left-handers, they try to avoid it unless they're stacking up against a righty. I remember one game the Reds were playing the Indians. It was one of the rebuild years, I believe. And I can't remember if it was before 2010 or those years of rebuilding or after 2016. But anyway, there's a righty on for the Reds. The Indians came in. 8 of their 9 hitters were left-handed.
That's awesome. Coming from a lefty.
But so Nick Castellanos, I would have hitting fourth. He's done well with it this year and in limited appearances and through his career. He's hit fourth, and he has. I know it goes against the sabermetrics, but the sabermetrics are not working for the Reds.
No,
they need to take need to take a sledgehammer, swing back, and break every computer in their analytics department if this is the results we're getting.
Yeah, I mean, I need to go look at the numbers. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Analytics is just absolutely terrible, and it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything for Reds fans at all.
No, and I mean, it has its place, especially when evaluating talent, but how you it takes away from the psychology of playing games and the pressure that gets put on players, and every player is different. The Reds even had, or at least they did have, a sports psychologist on staff and to kind of deal with these issues. And I mean, look at Trevor Bauer. He has to measure his blood to see how he's going to perform. I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's what he does in order to know. I think he does it to try to figure out how he's going to have to adjust that day and see what the results are. And there's science behind it. So it's got to be a mix of analytics and actual, I was going to say gut feeling plus just the player psychology when you're putting them in positions to succeed is what the manager should do. I don't want to throw all the blame on David Bell. I mean, the players have to go out there and perform, but it's his job to put them in the best position for them to do their jobs and do it well.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out, there's got to be a method to David Bell madness when it comes to making these lineups, because he's basically putting the same lineup out there.
Oh, and another guy, Mike Moustakas. If you look at his stats, he has always batted fifth or sixth and done the best. Batting fifth, he hits 275, 331, and 464 so far this year. Now he's been out a few games. He's hit fifth in 7 games, 263, 400, 474. The average is down a little bit, but the on-base percentage is up based on how the rest of the team is doing. If you put these guys in these places in the lineup where they've had success in the past, it seems to work. So batting second, I don't think he's batted second any time this year. So with Suarez, with Castellanos and Votto, I don't see that happening. Batting third, which I could see David Bell putting him there, and he has in one game. He's not been good in his career. He's hitting 234, 299, 464 in the 3-hole in 157 games. Don't hit him third unless you absolutely have to. And in a 60-game season, there should not. The 5 starters should be in there almost every game unless they're out for injury, illness, or just a day off from time to time if there's a long stretch of games.
Now, I mean, do we have any? What's the splits on Freddie Galvis and his spots?
Yeah, Galvis. I didn't look at him too much because I don't think of him as a hitter. But let's see. Watch him be a leadoff.
Yeah, I know, right?
Let's see his split.
I want to say he led off in Philadelphia, but I could be wrong.
He could have. Let's look at his career. He's been playing for quite a while.
Yeah, I like the fact he's a switch hitter.
Yep. So he's led off in 55 games, 248, 277, 329. I mean, it's better than what we've had, but it's definitely not the best option on the team. Looking at Galvis, he hits well in the 6th, 7th, 8th position in the batting order. Pretty much the same, 295, 295, 296. Batting 8th, he actually has a 429 slugging. 296. 296 is the on-base percentage. Sorry. That's still his best position, though. He's not a good hitter. I mean, he's not an awful hitter in those spots, but especially for 6th, 7th, 8th hitters. So for him, I'd probably bat him 7th or 8th, depending on the rest of the lineup. Definitely don't. Oddly enough, batting second, It's probably his best on base percentage, but he's definitely not a 2-hole hitter on this team. So, and honestly, I know he's getting the $5 million a year, but the way that he's played compared to the way Kyle Farmer's played, I would almost go with him. So looking further down the lineup, I think Tucker Barnhart's probably the most frustrating player to watch on this team this year.
Yeah, well, we'll just leave him off.
You
can't do any worse than Votto. Really.
You know, I think actually, I bet his career stats leading off is better than Votto's, because I know he's done it in some games. Because I remember seeing it. I mean, you're like, wow, Tucker, definitely not a speedster in the leadoff spot, though. You know what though, Tucker can hustle down the line.
Yeah, he does hustle, but he's not very fast.
And he's not very good in the leadoff spot, too, in the limited times he's done it. 0 for 7 with a strikeout.
Ouch.
I mean, granted, you're not going to have very many catchers lead off. I think Bench did it a few times, too, but...
not very often. He did do it a couple times.
No, but anyway, looking at Tucker's stats from his career, probably batting 8th is where he needs to be. 269, 343 hitter. Batting 8th. Batting 9th, 70 at-bats. My guess is most of them are this year or last year, too, surprisingly. I guess those were all AL games last year. But overall, a 241 hitter. No, I'm sorry, 162 hitter. 241 with a 268 slugging percentage, hitting 9th. Don't hit him 9th, which is probably where... I almost said Brian Price again. David Bell is actually hitting him.
I think it's the same guy, just in a different body.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know.
You know, maybe neither one of them is making the lineups. Maybe it's coming from upstairs.
I hope not.
Yeah, well, so, yep, that's where David Bell has him hitting, is batting 9th. The worst place to bat Tucker Barnhart, other than leadoff, and 4th. Is 9th. I mean, there's even at least a reasonable amount of games for the to get it. There's 70 games batting 9th, and he's hitting 240 or 162. Don't hit him there. Hit him 8th. He's hitting 269, 343, 395 in his career, batting 8th. This year, batting 8th. He's only done it in one game. Was 1 for 4. Bat him 9th. I'm sorry, bat him 8th.
Yeah, bat him 8th. 9th ain't working.
Now, batting 7th isn't bad either. 251, 330, 357. But I think on this team, batting 8th is where he's going to need to be. Other than that, on this team, it's pretty much until Nick Senzel comes back, and then it's a completely different team to talk about with lineups. So we're not going to do that tonight. But
well, once Senzel comes back, we don't have to worry about Votto leading off anymore. Thank God.
No. Senzel. Let's take a look at his leadoff stats compared to Winker, because right now I think Winker, based on what we've seen, is probably the best. Now, of course, Senzel only played 104 games last year, and so his time is going to probably be a lot limited. He played 67 games at leadoff. It's right up there with Winker's. 274, 340, 467. So I think Senzel leading off makes sense. Actually, looking at where else he's hit in the lineups, that's his best spot. So yeah. Winker has some room to move around. He's pretty consistent wherever in the lineup. So Senzel, when he comes back, probably leading off. Shogo, you got to play him. I mean, he's played in 23 games, but only has 75 plate appearances this year, which, other than guys that have been hurt, is the fewest on the team.
Yeah, and that comes down to David Bell. When there's a lefty on the mound, he won't play Akiyama, but he'll play Winker. He'll play Votto, and they're both left-handed, and Moustakas. So I don't understand that. I know Akiyama did well in Japan at batting against lefties. I don't know what he's seeing that we can see.
I have no idea. Someone should ask him, but no one ever does. Looking at his left versus right so far this year. Let's see. Opponent, game condition, ballparks. He's not. Let's see. Clutch, stats, number of outs in innings, ball strikes. Leading off an inning, he's not good. In limited times, he's only had 11 at-bats doing that.
He hasn't really had the chance.
No, he hasn't. Versus left-handed hitters this year, he's had 7 plate appearances, is hitting 200 against them. Versus right-handed hitters, 226. So it's kind of hard to actually tell. And out of the left-handed starters, he's only had 6 plate appearances against left-handed starters, hitting 500.
There you go.
So when he comes off the bench, because I'm pretty sure anytime the left-handers come in, if David Bell can substitute for him, he has. So yeah, he needs to play. Especially,
he does need to play. We're paying him a lot of money to play.
Especially right now that Senzel's out, he should be playing pretty much every game. I understand when Senzel's there, you have a log jam. You may want to do some matchups with some of the other guys off the bench, but other than Kyle Farmer, no one else is really performing. That's an outfielder. Phillip Irvin's 094. Matt Davidson's not really an outfielder, but he's a DH, and he's not doing too bad for a second DH. 214, 290. Bad off the bench. That's kind of what you would expect, especially in a shortened season. Travis Jankowski, 067. Granted, very few at-bats. He's been mainly used as a pinch runner. Mark Payton, only a couple of at-bats, so we'll give him a little bit of a break. But there's no one else on the team that can play outfield while Senzel is out that should be in there over Shogo. Shogo's your star. Granted, you're not getting the international attention directly like you would have if it had been a regular season where you may have some marketing people trying to push you to play him. But because I'm sure that happens. I mean, baseball is a business.
Well, I mean, Aristides Aquino's still out there somewhere. I'm sure he's looking at it going, "What? Why am I here?"
Yeah, Aquino in 5 games, 9 plate appearances, hitting 250. So I don't know why he's not up above some of these other guys. Phillip Irvin, I think, may be out of options. That I'm not sure. But looking at the bench, it's kind of sad. You have Farmer, who's only played in 14 games this year, hitting 270, 325. I would use him more at shortstop over Freddie Galvis. I know Freddie Galvis has the big contract, but he's not performing.
He's not performing to where he should be. And Farmer's been better defensively.
Which is a surprise to everyone but Kyle Farmer. He's like, I was a shortstop in college. I don't know why the Dodgers made me a catcher. I don't even think he had a catcher's mitt when they told him to go play catcher.
Well, I mean, if they're looking for another, besides Aquino, which they don't have another outfielder, you got Michael Lorenzen who can play some outfield.
Right.
He can also hit as well. I mean, the guy, he's an athlete in college.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling how the lineups are doing, how he's structuring the lineups, how he's trying to get playing time. For a while, it seemed like he was managing like it was still a spring training game with all the substitutions late in the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's really grasping the fact that this is a 60-game season, and you're running out of time.
Right. I mean, I know I've mentioned this in my group. If you look back at, the Reds are not too far off from where they were in 2010, 2012, and by 60 games they pulled up to where I believe if they have that same record this year, they'll be a playoff team. But the 2010 team started hitting right around this time, maybe a few games afterwards. Same thing with 2012. So if they don't get on a roll, it's not going to happen. And with this lineup, based on prior experiences, prior stats, I don't think it's going to work. I'm not a baseball manager, but it doesn't make sense to me. You can see it. Votto looks lost at the plate, and that is not Joey Votto. Never looks lost.
No, I don't think he's seeing the ball well. Maybe it's his age. I don't know. Maybe his eyes checked. I don't know.
I honestly think it's that when he's batting second or third, or even for the few times he's batted further down the lineup, he has an opportunity to get in the batter's box, stay in the hole. If he's hitting third, and watch the delivery of the pitcher. I know he studies video probably more than anyone else, but watching video and seeing it live in person right before you get to do it is a completely different feeling.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I played ball, and I was sitting on. I could tell you where a position player is going to play me as a hitter. I could tell you where an outfielder is going to move on the next play. I could tell you all that stuff, and that's what Votto needs to do. He needs to stand there and he needs to look at these pitchers and look at what they're pitching these other guys.
Right. Well, if you're leading off, though, you just don't get you don't get the same feel of what the pitcher's doing that day, and I think it completely messes with Joey's routine. Joey's not going to be the type of player that's going to say, "Look, I don't need to be hitting leadoff." He probably should, but Votto's a team guy. He's a guy that's going to go and if I cannot keep from saying if David Bell. If I ever meet him, he's going to want to punch me in the head if he ever hears this. But if David Bell, if David Bell batted Votto ninth, I don't think Votto's the type of player that would. I know he would never do it publicly. I don't even think privately he would go to him and say, "I don't think I can do it." I think he would go, "I'm employee number 19. I'll go out and hit ninth and see what happens." But and I'm not saying that Votto should hit ninth. I still think. I mean, earlier in the year when he was hitting second and even third, he was seeing the ball good. He was getting great contact. He got into some tough outs, but he wasn't striking out. And since he's been in the leadoff spot, I think he struck out more times than I did in my early dating days.
No, I mean, Votto started the season. He only struck out like twice in maybe 12 games or something like that.
Right.
And lately, he's been going down a lot lately.
Oh, yeah. There was the COVID break, but since the COVID break, he's been hitting in the leadoff spot, and he does not need to hit leadoff. Joey Votto is not a leadoff hitter. I almost if I was the general manager of the Reds right now, I would make I want to keep wanting to say
Bell.
Thank you. Go to a chalkboard and write that 100 times. Joey Votto is not a leadoff hitter.
So David Bell is listening to us. You know, he needs to look at this lineup and go, look, Joey Votto is not a leadoff hitter. Akiyama is your leadoff hitter. Senzel is your leadoff hitter. Anybody but freaking Votto.
Winker is a leadoff hitter. I mean, if you don't want to hit, if you want to hit Shogo further down the line, maybe that's okay. I don't know what he did in Japan. Japan's different. He's getting used to playing American baseball in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, there's a lot of change in there for him, but you got to play him, especially when Senzel is out. He needs to be in every day. Winker, he's hitting hot. Put him in the leadoff spot. Hopefully, he can continue that. He has a background of hitting well in the leadoff spot, so it shouldn't be this hard, especially when the team's not performing offensively. Don't keep running the same lineup out there every day. Earlier in the season, we were complaining because the lineup changed every day when they were kind of producing offensively. And now that they're not, he's just like, I think he made a comment saying, we're not going to blow things up. We're not going to shake things up. We're going to stick with it. And this is not what you stick with. You move guys around. You may give a guy a day off if needed, just to try to give him a break if that's what's needed for the particular player. But what's going on now is not working. Hopefully they can turn it around. Hopefully we don't have too many more lineup discussions, because next to fake trade shows, this is my least favorite topic. Because, I mean, honestly, the lineup, I mean, a lot of managers use different lineups every day, but this one, it's like he's picking them to hit in their worst position ever.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen next. You don't know if somebody's going to get traded at the trade deadline. We don't know if somebody's going to come over in the trade deadline. We don't know. Something could change in the next couple of days. But right now, he needs to look at this lineup and go, it ain't working. We need to fix something. Right,
and I mean, you have veterans. It's not like you're working with a bunch of rookies this year that you don't know where their best fit is. there's a proven track record with all these guys on the team, and you can see where they work and where they don't work just based off of simple splits. I know there's more things that go into it, matchups against pitchers and all that, but again, Joey Votto is not a leadoff hitter. I think that's our synopsis for this show.
That's what we're going to be saying in our sleep. Joey Votto's not a leadoff hitter. Joey Votto's not a leadoff hitter. And David Bell needs to see that in his mind. That he's not a leadoff hitter. Votto is the 2 or 3 hitter.
Absolutely. Yes. If you need to move him down in the lineup for a couple of days to see if he can get a little bit of a kind of get fired up down lower in the lineup, not a demotion, just something. I've seen the players. I think Dusty did that with Griffey a couple of times. And got him fired back up and got back into the 3-hole. Did okay. I mean, it's kind of late in his career, too. A lot of injuries. Similar with Votto. Not as many injuries as Junior had, but both top-of-the-line players. They can hit anywhere you ask them to, except Joey Votto is not a leadoff hitter.
I don't know if David Bell was looking at other managers leading off. Like, I know the Braves are leading off what's his name, Acuna?
Right.
He was leading off for the longest time until he got hurt. And he was doing pretty well, but he may be a leadoff hitter, but Joey Votto is not a leadoff hitter.
I think that's pretty much sums everything up. So until next time, where we'll go back and look at this week's Reds baseball over the weekend. Oh, wait, we forgot to give the trivia question, which was the easiest trivia question in the world. I'm not even going to re-look it up to answer it. The answer was the Black Sox scandal. And the question, of course, was who did the Reds play in their first World Series victory, and what was the scandal associated with it? It was the White Sox and the Black Sox scandal. So until next time, take care and go Reds. Oh, and you can reach us online at Scott Evans. It's at Scott Evans on air on Twitter. Do not send it to I am Scott Evans. That's a guy that was on Access Hollywood. Not sure if he's still there or not. I'm definitely not him. And Nick, I think yours is at NCL.
NCL on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram as well.
All right. Be sure to, if you find us entertaining, or even if you don't, be sure to like us on whatever player you're listening to us on. Follow us, subscribe to us, write a review. We'd love to see that, just to let us know how we're doing. And until next time.
Ask plenty of questions.
Absolutely.
We love questions.
Until next time, go Reds.
Go Reds.